Previously on KK's Horror Heretics. Mother and child relationship is always an important story element for a lot of horror movies. Recently, I caught two more horror flicks with a significant maternal influence in the plot. We begin with Night Patrol from director Ryan Prowse, co-written by Prowse with Shea Obona, Tim Cairo, and Jake Gibson. In the never-ending gang war between the Crips and the Bloods on the streets of Los Angeles, LAPD Constable Ethan Hawkins wanted to join a clandestine elite police group simply known as the Night Patrol, which was created by his late father. To pass his initiation, Hawkins had to kill a sister of a powerful Bloods gang leader in cold blood, witnessed by a Crips soldier who happened to be the son of a deceased gang leader whose wife was dabbling with Zulu black magic, and elder son had become a policeman, coincidentally the partner of Hawkins. The story will build up through the tension between the rival gangs, especially with the presence of their enemy in the slaughter of the leader's family, and the much stigmatized forbidden relationship between gang members meant that an all-out gang war was on the horizon. Meanwhile, the Night Patrol was maiming for blood, literally. Hawkins and his partner Xavier were building a strong bond, and the latter was sad to see his partner leave and being recruited to the highly exclusive Night Patrol, looking on with a tinge of envy. But when he put up the request to join his partner, his background as the son of an infamous Crips gang leader was polar opposite to Hawkins' father, who was a decorated police officer killed in duty. The story about his father was controversial, as Hawkins will eventually realize, and his admission into the Night Patrol was through a nepotism route, and he will be aware of the fact that the Night Patrol was not the highly coveted law enforcers the entire LAPD were clamoring about. Sowing discord between the gangs, the Night Patrol was baiting to net a whole lot in the name of law, yet behind it all was a heinous ulterior motive. Xavier's mother Ayanda, a practicing mystic who utilized ancient Zulu magic, saw through the facade of the Night Patrol and would ask her younger son Watzi to offer the olive branch to Bonilius, his deceased girlfriend's brother and the head honcho of the Bloods. So things were culminating to the tension-filled climatic end when the Night Patrol executed a plan to eradicate the Colonial Court's housing project with non-gang related innocent parties as collaterals, while the rival gangs joined arms to ambush the fiendish and inhumane Night Patrol. With Hawkins going through a tortured transformation, committing heinous acts against his own wills, and Xavier's plights did not come into fruition into anything redeeming, Watzi became the unlikely hero of the story, as we had a truly fantastical ending for this movie, which people describe as Training Day meets Blade. In terms of dramatizing the famous street gangs of LA, which were well documented to be dangerous and unruly, I certainly could feel the imminent threats dealing with these urban ruffians, bringing me back to series like The Shield and The Wire, which offer some form of authenticity to the odious nature of these housing projects in many big cities in the States. The street jargons and Arkham swearing, though, can get tiresome after a while, but I was especially tickled by the conversation Watzi, Bonilius, and two of Bonilius' lieutenants had with regards to the law of vampires after they realized that they were dealing with supernatural enemies. Such unexpected comedic moments continued with Watzi and Ayanda, as it was gritty and devoid of any humor prior to near the end. It was also strange not to capitalize on the comedic nuance of Justin Long and Jermaine Fowler in the roles of Ethan Hawkins and Xavier Carl respectively. We of course had seen Long in my review of Barbarian recently, and Fowler in the Australian arachnophobia horror Sting. I wonder if the name Ethan Hawkins was a tongue-in-cheek on Ethan Hawke, who starred opposite Denzel Washington in Antoine Fuqua's Training Day, which this movie of course paid homage to. Other recognizable faces included Dermot Mulroney, who played Hawkins' supposed deceased father, and WWE wrestler CM Punk, or legal name Phil Brooks. Seeing Brooks interacting with Justin Long felt like worlds colliding, but it seems to work in some extent. Other than that, I did not buy him as a no-nonsense police officer. RJ Cyler assumed the eye-catching role of Watzi. Watzi started as a Crips soldier who barely earned his stripes and was in the gang because of his parents. He was slighted by the police, the rival gang, and even his own family, and was mired in the chain of events that wrecked his world and had little time to get adjusted. But the character grew in strength and in the end I was enjoying his growth despite the absurdity of the mystical powers he was bestowed to combat the undead. Sylar was a young actor whose last prominent role might be the Blue Ranger in 2017's Power Rangers, opposite the likes of Naomi Scott. Nikki Michaud played Ayanda, the mother of Watzi and Xavier. She was the rose among the taunt in the cast, and Ayanda held her own, maintaining a belief in her Zulu black magic, while was a presence as the leader of the gang after her husband's death. Her protection over Watzi and strained relationship with Xavier were key plot lines, and were also why I felt Night Patrol was another movie that could have the continual running theme of powerful maternal element in horror film. This was the second collaboration between Michaud and director Ryan Prowse after starring in his debut feature film Low Life from 2017. Speaking of Prowse, we were acquainted with him in his segment in VHS 94 with Terror, the part with the white supremacist group wanting to use a vampire they had captured to execute their plan with. So there's this running fascination from Prowse with putting vampires in all sorts of environments and see if it works. I recalled I did not like Terror with the aesthetics, and similarly here, infusing the artificial graininess in the digital film did not add to the grittiness but was awfully off-putting for me. Prowse had broken the story in point of views of the Crips, the Bloods and the Night Patrol, and felt like he had used the same manner of storytelling in Low Life, which was a dark comedy of strange bedfellows caught in an absurd organ harvesting scheme, a script written by the same group of people that wrote Night Patrol. Night Patrol adequately worked in the gang wars of LA with decent performances from the cast. The vampire elements and ensuing Zulu ancient magic were all over the places, but it was admirable that Prowse tried to mix things up. I enjoyed myself with the gang members indulging in their vampire lore when war was at their doorsteps, but it would not immediately elevate the movie beyond a 6.5 out of 10. The Morrigan is referred to the Great Queen or Phantom Queen in Irish mythology. She is often associated with war and fate, especially foretelling doom, death and victory in battle. She often appears as a crow or bat. From Irish director Colm Eastwood, we have the Morrigan, which he had developed from a short film of the same name some years back about the mythological figure. At the start, we have the archeological professor Fiona, hoping to garner funding for an excavation project on a secluded island, a distance from mainland. The unnamed university felt like lost in time and displayed gender inequality by awarding Fiona's supervisor Jonathan the project instead. Not wanting to put all her research to waste, a disenchanted Fiona took up the offer to join John on the island for the project to retrieve something linked to the mythical Morrigan. With her marriage broken, Fiona thought bringing her teenage daughter Lily to the island with no mobile signal, much less internet connection, where people regularly communicated with people on mainland through radio transmission, was the best idea. Lily had been expelled from school due to a flagrant consumption of alcohol and was your typical rebellious teen. It was hard for her to kill time in the only creaky old hotel on the island. During her exploration of the dark crevices of the hotel, Lily was affected by the portrait of the hotel's owner's late wife. Meanwhile, Fiona managed to find a luggage-like cascade in a narrow tunnel in the excavation site that nearly caved her in. The cascade would be the prized possession for their project, but it bore an influence on those who were mentally vulnerable, and in this case, it was young Lily. Lily did the unthinkable and was leached upon by the war goddess herself, and we could see the grievance from the flashback sequence of how the last human surrogate of the goddess had been assassinated by likely men from the church. Morrigan was waiting to unleash her fury after being sealed in the cascade for centuries. The entire transformation of Lily to Morrigan and how she would creep in the dark corners of the hotel room felt very familiar to me, very synonymous to the scary entities from Asia, and the way she haunts and mimes her victims was also very classic Asian horror. Jonathan was her first victim, and he was being tensy and creepy towards young Lily one evening, while both shared a moment of intoxication. But evidently Lily was weirded out by her mother's colleague. There was an interlude when the hotel owner displayed disdain to his aged uncle Francis, a priest or man of cloth from the church, and clearly warned his son from inviting Francis to the island, likely to be linked with his wife's sudden passing, which was not divulged. Uncle Francis was beckoned when the son thought Lily was suffering from demonic possession and thought the wise uncle could help with the exorcism. In the biggest loophole of the movie, Uncle Francis managed to reach the island in a matter of hours when it was blatant there was no ferry service at that time of the day, or maybe I was misinformed. Soliciting help of a man of Christianity faith against a pagan goddess felt like a futile attempt. Francis at least was less of a hindrance even when he was not much of a help. With the small cast of characters, it was effortless for Morrigan to decimate the survivors on this island. In the end, he banked on the pure love and affection from the mother to save her daughter, who were at one point totally taken over by Morrigan. The Morrigan came after a slate of folk horror from the United Kingdoms in recent years, from Lee Cronin's The Hole in the Ground to Unwelcome from 2022, to Ishana Night Shyamalan's The Watchers, to Rabbit Trap from last year, as well as one of my favourite from 2024 with Damien McCarthy's Oddity. Such bite-sized features work on the strange ancient myth, catching people unaware and unprepared of their threat in modern times. There was the innate charm of the landscape, and in this movie, the unnamed island, which felt like possessing strong mythological power at just one glance. The hotel they resided in also added to the story, although it might be a soundstage. Saffron Burrows, an English actress who was featured in big Hollywood productions like Troy, and opposite Daniel Day-Lewis in the Name of the Father, played Fiona, a lead character who we could see flustered by her credits being stolen in her professional life and crippled in her personal life, trying to mend things with Lily before things went awry. The only issue I had with Burrows was her voice that sometimes ruined her emoting when things got rough. Among the other cast members who I could barely recognize, I should not be surprised to see the actors playing poor young Rickon Starks and Lord Commander of the Night Watch, Joel Mormont in the Game of Thrones series, will be playing the son of the hotel proprietor and Uncle Francis respectively. I was certainly creeped out at many instances during the possession of Lily by Morrigan, and it worked more effectively as a supernatural horror than just a feature merely bringing the folklore into the forefront. I'm awarding the Morrigan a 7 out of 10. Before we go, let's go through the horror filmography for one Justin Long, and I would say many of which were blind spots for myself. Long tends to play a bit of an anxious wreck or someone ill-prepared for the situations he will be facing, at times a comic's relief. It started with Jeepers Creepers in the year 2001 as one of the siblings who encountered a violent truck driver. The Creeper, which was a malevolent force of nature, treated Long's Danny as a bane of his existence. His next involvement in a horror movie was a significant one with Sam Raimi's Drag Me to Hell in 2009, playing Clay, boyfriend of lead character Christine, who endured a lot of the travails for the person he loved. Another 5 years later, Long would play Wallace in Kevin Smith's Task when he was victimized and turned into a human walrus, which was a scene to be behold. He would return in the spin-off from Task with Yoga Hosers as another character. This was followed by Ghost Team in the same year when he joined a paranormal team as an overeager security guard. 2022 marked the year when Justin Long fully embraced the horror genre, first with Zack Cregger's Barbarian and House of Darkness from Neil LaBute as Hap, a hapless man trying to get lucky for a hookup at a bar only to be tortured. In 2023, he was cast in Dear David, the adaptation of the Twitter thread from Adam Ellis, which was raging a few years back. This was followed by It's a Wonderful Knife, a holiday-themed slasher feature. He will be joined by his brother Christian to write and direct the segment Fur Babies in VHS Beyond, which I enjoyed immensely. In Spin the Bottle, Long played the sheriff who dealt with some teenagers doing silly things in an abandoned haunted house. This was followed by the cameo in Cregger's Weapons and Night Patrol, and had a movie from Colin Minihan of the Vicious Brothers titled Coyote, about a Hollywood couple being targeted by a pack of coyotes in their house. You can evidently see Long having fun with the roles in these horror movies he was cast in, and likely to continue the streak for years to come. If you really like this double feature, as well as a glimpse into Justin Long's a modern screen prince himself, please help by clicking the like button. Also subscribe if you are new here. I suppose Justin Long would not be mind to be ripped apart by a rabid chimpanzee in a movie like Johannes Roberts' Primate. I also will not think Justin Long will mind being mangled up by an Irish supernatural entity like Morrigan.